Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented Union Budget 2026-27 in Parliament. And to discuss the highlights of this budget, we have with us a very distinguished panel of secretaries from the Government of India. We have with us the Chief Economic Advisor, Mr. Dr. V. Anantha Nageswaran, Secretary Expenditure, Shri V. Vualnam, Secretary DIPAM, Dr. Arunish Chawla, Secretary Department of Financial Services, Shri M. Nagaraju, and Secretary Department of Economic Affairs, Ms. Anuradha Thakur. Welcome to the program, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will begin with you, Mr. Nageswaran. Your first reaction to the budget presented by the Finance Minister, how do you look at it in terms of it providing a stability in these times of economic uncertainty throughout the world?
I think the first thing it does is to basically continue with the tradition of fiscal prudence. Having done a lot of hard work in the previous 5 years, bringing the ratio of fiscal deficit to GDP from 9.2 to 4.4, it continues but gradually slows the pace. But there is no attempt to deviate from the path, because there is a goal of 50% of GDP for the debt ratio by 2030-31. That is one. The second thing the budget does is to sort of quietly understand the geopolitical environment and prepares the country for the long term to have a certain sense of resilience and build buffers in manufacturing critical materials, whether it is health or whether it is manufacturing, etc. And also arranges the tax affairs in such a manner that these materials are available to us slightly more cheaply than before, and can also incentivize manufacturing of them in the country. So it builds on resilience. So I would say, therefore, the two main things for me is fiscal continuity of prudence, and second, quietly building the layers of resilience for the Indian economy for the long term.
Ms. Thakur, what was the government's vision and thought behind preparing the budget? Would you like to add to what Dr. Nageswaran just said?
Yes, I would completely agree with Dr. Nageswaran, one. And secondly, I would say that the three kartavya that FM pointed out in her budget, they are actually the basic spirit of the budget itself.
Right.
That it is the government's responsibility to give the country stable, high level of growth for the next few years. This budget plans for that. To take measures to fulfill the aspirations of an increasingly young and ambitious and aspiring India, through focusing on very niche sectors within the services sector, and while doing that, ensuring that there is inclusive growth, sabka saath, sabka vikas. The third kartavya emphasizes that. So in a nutshell, that actually captures the essence of the budget.
Right. Mr. Vualnam, I'll come to you. इस बजट में कैपेक्स जो है वो लगभग 11% बढ़ा दिया गया है, 12.2 लाख क्रॉर्स कर दिया गया है, जो कि जीडीपी का 4.4% है, और जैसे कि वित्त मंत्री ने कहा भी था कि पिछले लगभग 10 सालों में सबसे बड़ा है. एज एन एक्सपेंडिचर सेक्रेटरी, आपको कितनी बड़ी चुनौतियां आपके लिए कितनी बड़ी चुनौती होती, क्योंकि आपको सभी विभागों का, सभी डिपार्टमेंट्स का की एस्पिरेशंस की, उनकी ज़रूरतों के बारे में सोचना पड़ता है जब ये बजट बनता है.
The focus on capex is a given. The government is clear, we are all clear that creating infrastructure is what drives an economy, gives multiplier effect to the economic growth. So on that, it is a given, it is a objective that we are clear. Now within that, which sector should get, what type of infrastructure should be built up using that allocation. For instance, in the new year it is 12.2 lakh crore, as you rightly said. So that is the selection which we will do, and we have been doing it very carefully. And for instance, the National Highway have done a good job. All around the country we are seeing highways, expressways coming up. The railways are also gearing up. The metro network is increasing. In fact, the Honorable President had said that our metro network is now 1,000 kilometers, which is the third largest network in the world. So it is growing. And some other sectors, for instance, since last year we are focusing on shipbuilding mission also, so that will also be one of our priority sectors. So while ensuring that the best infrastructure comes up in a timely manner. Providing adequate for capex is very much a priority of the government.
Mr. Chawla, you of course, your department, the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, in this particular budget, the disinvestment target is 80,000 crore rupees through miscellaneous capital receipts. So, can you just explain how are you planning to, get this amount, and how achievable is this target that you've set?
We've set up an aspirational target, that's for sure. And that's because we have worked out a composite strategy and we are confident of achieving it. The 80,000 crore miscellaneous capital receipt is essentially various forms of asset monetization, which includes traditional modes like disinvestment, market sales, and land sales, land monetization. It also includes new and innovative ways of monetizing assets. The most prominent example, recent example, being InvIT. And this year we've taken this to a logical conclusion. We've launched a public InvIT. We got SEBI approval in December, and we hope to launch the first public InvIT of the country by March. Now, this essentially is a capital market equivalent of risk capital, and it helps us monetize the present value of user fee and redeploy it to creation of capital assets. And similarly, the Honorable Finance Minister announced REITs as capital instruments for the surplus land of PSEs.
Yes.
Land sale is difficult, but through this we hope to work with the line departments, with the PSUs, and identify land which can be brought within this framework. And essentially what this would mean is monetizing the present value of their rental revenues and using it to create and redevelop those assets so that the assets which are unproductive come into productive use of the economy. And putting together the traditional and these innovative modes, we hope to achieve the 80,000 crore target next year.
Mr. Nagaraju, the Finance Minister in her budget speech, she spoke about the robustness of our financial sector. Now, the government has decided to set up a high-level committee on banking to review the banking sector. Why was the need felt to set up this committee? And can you just further elaborate on this proposal?
There is definitely a need for having a committee, an expert committee. The government already laid out its vision for Viksit Bharat 2047 with almost about $30 trillion economy. And that requires huge the bank-led credit. Now, the current the ecosystem that we have, perhaps that may not support the aspirations of the country. Therefore, it was felt that there is a need to lay out the roadmap, how we are going to improve the financial sector, especially the banking sector. And therefore, the commitment was made to form a panel, expert committee, to make a recommendation to the government.
अनुराधा जी, आपसे पूछना चाहूँगी कि जब हम बजट की बात करते हैं तो एक आम आदमी के दिमाग में सबसे पहले ये आता है कि उस बजट में अगर हम इनकम टैक्स की बात करें तो इनकम टैक्स के लिहाज से उसके लिए क्या है?
जो टैक्स साइड से जो बजट में जो इंटरवेंशंस हैं उसका एक औचित्य जो कोर औचित्य है वो है टू मेक लाइफ इजी फॉर सिटीजन्स एंड टू मेक डूइंग बिजनेस इजी फॉर बिजनेसमैन जी. तो उसमें आप देखेंगे जैसे आपने कहा कि इनकम टैक्स का बड़ा रिफॉर्म लास्ट ईयर हुआ था जी, और इनकम टैक्स नया कोड भी फिर पास हुआ पार्लियामेंट से. उस कोड को कार्यान्वित करने के लिए रूल्स नोटिफाई करने की बात मैम ने की और इनकम टैक्स में खास करके फॉर्म्स टाइम से आ जाए, जल्द आ जाए, उसकी भी बहुत बड़ी अहमियत है जिसके बारे में कहा गया ताकि वो सिंप्लीफाइड कोड एक्चुअली क्रियान्वित हो जाए. एक तो ये बात है. दूसरी बात ये है कि उसमें कई सारे प्रोसेस रिफॉर्म्स हैं. That is the second part, which makes it easy both for business and citizens on the side of direct and indirect taxes. The third is that the penalty regime and enforcement regime has been made far simpler And choices are now given to the citizens and businesses to not carry the ignominy of penalty, but options have been given that you can give the tax and that enforcement against you will not be initiated. So the whole direction of the tax, indirect and indirect, is to make life simpler for citizens and businesses. And also many, apart from processes and apart from doing this, there are many clauses in which through the tax system, especially on the custom side,
Yes.
there have been interventions, there are measures which make input taxes, the inputs will become cheaper. That's the way the whole framework has been designed, if you are asking me in a macro way.
Dr. Nageswaran, there is one of the proposals that I found was very relevant in the budget today was the setting up of NIMHANS 2. And I remember that in your press conference right after the economic survey was presented, you spoke about the dangers of digital addiction. You spoke about obesity. So how important, the government is laying emphasis not just on physical health, but also on mental health. How important is it?
So obviously, how important? It's very important,
Yeah.
and in fact, the government is not paying attention to mental health only now.
Yeah.
It has been doing so over the years. There are some hotlines established for students, and there are and the program that was also there in the Part A of the budget speech was also about creating a care ecosystem, which also includes psychiatrists, because the number of these professionals per 100,000 population in India is lower than what's available elsewhere, and also educational institutions. So these are the kind of things that Indian government has been doing. And this particular new institution being set up in the eastern part of India is another important milestone in mental health, because obviously that plays straight into the potential for translating our demographic dividend into reality. Without that, it won't happen. So it's a very important development, and it's a very important signal. That's also something that we need to keep in mind.
Mr. Vualnam, the defense budget, if we talk about the defense budget, it is 7.85 lakh crore rupees this year, which is one of the highest till date. What was the rationale behind increasing this budget, and can you just give us more details about it?
Yeah. So the defense budget includes various components, and the most significant which we can discuss at this point is what we call the defense capex.
Yes.
And that portion in the budget for 26-27 is 2.19 lakh crore rupees. And it is a jump from the current year, and it is a recognition of the various strengthening that will be required in our defense setup. In fact, if you go back to the speech of the Honorable Prime Minister on Independence Day, he mentioned how the requirements of defense have changed, and it's all a step towards gearing up to meet that kind of new scenario, to be fully prepared to keep the country safe.
Right. The other one very important announcement in the budget was about Bharat Vistar, which is a multilingual AI tool for the farmers. What are the details of these particular tool, and how will it help the farmers and increase the productivity at the same time, the agriculture productivity?
Yeah. So let me start by mentioning that we are in that happy situation where our food grains production have reached record levels of 350 million metric tons per year and all. We are comfortable. In fact, our buffer stocks are far beyond the buffer stock which is required. So we are comfortable. We are fortunate. But having said that, whether our soils are healthy, whether our productivity has continued to improve, whether the fertilizer consumption is at the optimal level, whether we are drawing too much water, groundwater and all that. So in that context, this Bharat Vistar is an initiative where the Agri-Stack, which the Ministry of Agriculture has been developing for some time, where the farmer's ID in an online portal is being collected with all the details, the soil health cards are being generated, is intended to be linked to the ICAR database of agricultural knowledge, the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, so that using the power of AI, including the translation, the farmer in any corner of the country will be able to access the best agricultural knowledge that is available, and whichever crop that he would like to grow, whichever season he would like to grow, the optimal mix of fertilizers, the planting requirements and all the requirements, so that the farmer is benefited, the farmer income increases, and the production goes to the optimal level. So that is a very promising, in fact, Bharat Vistar, which you have mentioned.
Anuradha ji, इस पूरे बजट में there was an emphasis on scaling up manufacturing in 7 strategic and frontier sectors. Can you give for our listeners, can you explain what these sectors are, and at a time when the government is, focus is on making India the manufacturing hub of the world, how will this particular initiative, how will this particular proposal help?
Right. So like I always say, that the thrust of the government on manufacturing started with the Make in India in 2014. And ever since then, it's been more than 10 years of pursuing an emphasis on manufacturing. In the last 5 years, I would say, there has been a much more thrust again on manufacturing, particularly on, like you yourself mentioned, semiconductors, electronics, etc. This budget re-emphasizes and continues that thrust, particularly in specially selected strategic and frontier sectors, where we need to create a niche, we need to create buffers, and we need to ensure that our critical import dependencies in an uncertain world comes down, and we build that resilience in our own country. So in that, I would just like to explain that there are 7 such sectors. Very quickly, biopharma.
Yes.
Biopharma, now we needed a mission right now, because to create one molecule of a biologic medicine takes a lot of time. Discovery, now in fact AI can help that, but development of that molecule into production, that needs support. It is expensive, time consuming. You need, ma'am, you would also have noticed that in the budget, ma'am has specifically talked about clinical trials.
Yes.
So it needs multiple clinical trials, which we don't have in that sense. It also has a reform embedded in it of the CDCSO, which is the Central Drug Regulatory Authority. We need a whole cadre of reviewers. So in that also, skilling, like you had mentioned, skilling is embedded in that manufacturing, very big strategic manufacturing sector. Then there are dedicated chemical parks, so that there are, and 3 dedicated chemical parks. Then there are rare earth corridors. Other than that, there is this labor-intensive textile on which there is a focus. The strategicness of that comes from the fact that it is labor-intensive. It is very close to the ground. It is very women-centric also. And the weavers, and in that, if you notice, FM has announced Mahatma Gandhi Gram Swarojgar Yojana, which will bring together not only handicrafts and handloom, but also khadi, the ODOP products under this segment, etc., so that in every village there is an emphasis on the Gram Swaraj ecosystem linked to handicrafts and handlooms. So these sectors are there. An interesting sector which is also mentioned is the sports manufacturing sector. That is linked also to the Khelo India mission, which is separately announced in the budget in a different place. In a very systematic 5-pronged approach, Khelo India mission is being launched, and the sports manufacturing sits side by side to it, so that they can both feed into each other. So this way the budget has tried to create strategic frontier manufacturing sectors which the government will support. It will have the advantage, apart from what I had outlined, also of getting in technology, building technology capability ourselves, as well as drawing in private investment in niche and specialized sectors. I will use my time to also emphasize that apart from strong manufacturing emphasis, this budget also lays down a very strong emphasis on the services sector in a 2-pronged way. One, as a sector which has a high potential of contributing to growth itself, as well as the sector which can also contribute to employment in large numbers. And for that, a high-level standing committee has been announced, which is called Education to Employment and Enterprise, which will look at the whole chain, The terms of reference of that, indicative terms of reference have been laid down in the annexure, which has amongst many other things to say that the committee will be able to identify sectors which have the highest potential for employment, for growth. To kickstart the work that the committee would do, certain sectors have been identified,
Right.
which CA often has been saying it is actually sectors specifically targeting which are AI independent. So while there is emphasis in the budget of building and upskilling people, including engineers, etc., in AI itself, and also one of the TORs of the committee is to see how AI and other emerging technologies might affect jobs and skillings and what needs to be done. Simultaneously, sectors have been identified which are independent of the threat, so-called, or the impact. Impact would be a better word, the impact of AI. So skills in the care economy, in the allied health sectors, these are also sectors which are very service export friendly. So if we build up capacity in this, they will be adequate, and we need those numbers ourselves first of all, and we also need, and because they are dense in terms of employment potential, we can also export to the world. In that sense, I will add one more point to this, is that it's a very youth-centric budget. So I'm taking your airwave time कि हम अपने जो सुनने वालों को ये बताना चाहूँगी कि ये बजट वाकई युवा शक्ति का बजट है. इसमें कई प्रपोजल्स हैं जो कि टारगेटेड हैं यूथ के लिए, जो आपका मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से लिंक्ड सभी सेक्टर्स में, लाइक आई सेड, नॉट ओनली the skilling and the workforce creation that will happen because of the manufacturing, but if you notice, almost every item in the budget has a training and skilling element. So for example, biopharma itself, it also has an element of 3 new NIPERs, which are the institutes for pharma. Then if you talk about inland waterways, it also has an element of setting up training institutions to build up skilled manpower in inland waterways. So there's a huge diversification कि skills किस चीज़ में ली जा सकती हैं, training किस चीज़ में ली जा सकती है. Veterinary pharmacist, veterinary paravet जो घर के पास आपको ट्रेनिंग मिल सके, आप घर के पास ही काम कर सकते हैं. गांव में, छोटे छोटे शहरों में उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट है, विदेशों में रिक्वायरमेंट है. सो द फोकस इज़ रियली ऑन बोथ दीज बिग सेक्टर्स टू वर्क कॉन्जॉइंटली, इकट्ठे काम करेंगे ताकि हम विकसित भारत के लक्ष्य को भी निर्धारित कर सकें, और जो हमारे तमाम युवा युवतियाँ हैं, खास करके Tier 2 Tier 3 सिटीज़ में, गाँव में भी, बिकॉज अगर आपका एक छोटा सा जैसे ITIs है, या फिर आपका कोई फिजियोथेरेपी का इंस्टीट्यूशन खुलता है किसी छोटे शहर में, इवन बड़े शहर में, तो वो जो बच्चा उसमें क्वालिफाई करता है वो बच्चा उसमें जा सकता है पढ़ने, और उसके बाद उसके लिए the sky is the limit. They can train, they can upskill themselves as much as possible. And the hope is that the committee which will be formed, जो committee या high level की बनेगी, वो इन सब चीज़ों से अपने आप को they will be able to identify कि बेस्ट वे अपस्किलिंग का, रीस्किलिंग का, उसमें AI कैसे यूज़ हो सकता है, वो सब सारे पॉइंट्स उसमें ले करके, ताकि बच्चे फॉर्मल प्रोफेशनल सर्टिफिकेशन कोर्स या डिग्री कोर्स भी लें और कांस्टेंट एक लाइफ जर्नी में अपनी अपस्किलिंग और रीस्किलिंग करते रहें.
Mr. Vualnam, I will want to ask you the next question. We have seen in the last few years, the government has been putting emphasis especially on the MSMEs, especially post-COVID. That is one sector that the government has been putting a lot of focus on. And in today's budget also, we saw that there is a special fund, of 10,000 crore for the SMEs, as well as 2,000 crores for micro enterprises. When we look at this, today's proposal in the budget, and when we look at the GST reforms introduced last year, overall, given the fact that MSMEs play such an important role and they contribute such a lot to our exports, how important is this? And can you just give us a little more details about these proposals?
Yeah. The MSME sector has really contributed to the employment, to the entrepreneurship, to the exports, and to our overall economic growth. And it's really a focus of the government. In fact, if you just go back a few months to support the MSMEs in their exports, the government the Union Cabinet approved a credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs for their export. So MSME as a sector is something that has been a priority of the government, and these new announcements are really in line with that. And we expect that the MSMEs will benefit, but I'll request my colleagues, maybe they can elaborate a bit more on the point. Yeah.
I'll supplement what the Secretary Expenditure has mentioned. We have about 4.5 crore MSMEs in the country, and they also contribute about 30% of the total employment in the country, and 40% of total exports. That way, the MSME's contribution is hugely significant. Government, the last 10 years, has always come up with the new ideas to support MSMEs at multiple stages in terms of providing competitive credit lines, guaranteed credit lines, postponement of repayment, and restructuring of loans we have done. Now today, in fact, the last quarter, we have outstanding credit of 37 lakh crore to the MSME from the banking sector. That's the highest. And this year, the MSME credit grew at 17%. Again, this is the highest ever. The government has been providing a lot of priority to that. And the total guaranteed loans to the MSMEs now, as of last month, is 6 lakh crore currently.
Okay.
Now, we provide a lot of loans. Now, micro units are the ones, 90% of the total MSME belongs to the micro, small ones. And our job is, what we have proposed in the budget was, but out of that, some of them are dormant, but many of them are functional. But there are very good MSMEs with a little bit of support, technical support, capital support, marketing assistance. They could become champions and could actually expand their export to the rest of the world. So the idea is to identify such MSMEs who can be supported through both the debt and the equity and other support systems, so that they will be able to capture export market in the rest of the world. That's how the proposal is structured.
My last question is to all of you. The budget that was presented by the Finance Minister, how effective has it been, or how effective it would be, in this climate? Would you say that it is going to, how effective it will be achieving a balance between, giving money or giving funds for development and for social sector, as well as maintaining the pace of economic growth when we are planning to become Viksit Bharat in 2047? Mr. Nageswaran.
I think I have to invoke apparently what Chairman Mao said when asked about the French Revolution. It is too soon to tell.
But would you say that it is in a way, the proposals in the budget are going to push forward the aim that the government is the target of the government, the aim of the government, to become.
Obviously, I think that's the expectation, that's the hope with which they have been unveiled. But obviously, we haven't even spent 24 hours after the budget has been unveiled. So that's why I said it is too soon to tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Vualnam.
Yes, definitely this budget, because in fact what the Chief Economic Advisor mentioned in the beginning, the foundation of fiscal prudence, and because of that the macroeconomic stability that we have is a very strong foundation, and also a very timely foundation at the time of global uncertainties. And it is helping us to be able to fund the interventions or the schemes that we need to do, different sections of the society that need to be supported, what were mentioned by my colleagues, and the focus on the manufacturing, the focus on the strategic sectors. I'm confident that the budget will lead us to very rapid growth as we move towards the Viksit Bharat.
Mr. Chawla, would you say that fiscal prudence, the balance between fiscal prudence and economic growth, reflects in the budget today?
100%. And if you see, the debt-GDP ratio is on track to achieve the 50% level by 2030. if the way I see the budget is a definitive step towards a Viksit Bharat. It contains a number of those elements, and as Anuradha said, the three kartavya essentially mean we strike the right balance, we achieve growth that is inclusive for an aspirational India.
Mr. Nagaraju, your closing comments on the budget?
My closing comments on the budget is, see, apart from what three kartavyas of the country got through the budget, the one thing I notice through the entire theme is the budget is very strategic. And it's not indiscriminately not tried to invest everywhere. No, it has chosen sectors where country needs to be strategic, autonomous, and acquire capabilities. The budget has focused on that. And also, it is also in the employment generation.
Right.
It has also focused on employment generation for youth so that youth aspirations could be met. And also they are also trying to support industries to take on the rest of the world in terms of exports. There is also a lot of support tried in this budget. Well, too soon, but we can safely assume that these are all positive indications for a good and successful budget.
Ms. Thakur?
Yes,
Would you say this is an inclusive budget? And like I asked Mr. Chawla also, balancing fiscal prudence with the needs, to promote economic growth.
Absolutely. I think that is the intention of the budget, with a very strong push on infrastructure, strategic push to manufacturing, newfound focus on services sector, as well as inclusive and sabka saath, sabka vikas. And the very important thing which I'll mention in the end, the three cross-cutting supportive themes of the use of critical and emerging technologies, of a very robust financial system, as well as the ongoing reforms which will continue and which need to continue to be able to unleash the potential that India has. This budget has tried to put all these elements together in a very selected and graded way so that growth can be achieved and it can be inclusive.
Thank you, all of you, for coming to Akashvani studios and for sharing your views on Union Budget 2026-27.
Thank you.